Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into one of the most shocking and unexpected geopolitical developments that has sent shockwaves across Russia, China, and the entire Eurasian region. A massive $50 billion Chinese infrastructure project, one that was supposed to reshape trade routes, strengthen the Russia-China alliance, and give Moscow a powerful economic lifeline, has suddenly been brought to a grinding halt. And the reason? Not military force, not sanctions, but something far more ironic. 8,000 trucks blocking a key transit corridor, creating a political and logistical nightmare that Vladimir Putin never saw coming. This situation has not only disrupted trade, but also exposed deep cracks in regional alliances, revealing how fragile Russia's strategic position truly is. Today, we're breaking down what this project was, why it mattered so much, how 8,000 trucks managed to block a $50 billion dream, and what this means for the future of Russia, China, and the balance of global power. To understand why this crisis is so massive, we first need to look at the heart of the project. China has been pushing its Belt and Road Initiative, a massive global infrastructure plan designed to create new trade routes through Asia, Europe, and Africa. Russia saw this as an opportunity to become the central land bridge connecting China to Europe. In simple terms, China would build railways, highways, and logistics hubs across Russian territory to speed up trade and bypass sea routes controlled by Western powers. This $50 billion project would have given Russia billions in transit fees, new jobs, upgraded infrastructure, and deeper partnership with China. For Putin, it was more than just an economic project. It was a lifeline during a time of Western sanctions, isolation, and declining energy revenue. But what Putin did not expect was that the success of this project depended on something he could not fully control: neighboring countries and their internal politics. The key transit route passed through a narrow corridor used by thousands of trucks each day. This corridor connects China to Europe through Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and other Central Asian nations before entering Russia. These trade routes have always been busy, but recently they became completely jammed. Nearly 8,000 trucks were backed up in a massive traffic jam that stretched for kilometers, causing goods to rot, delivery times to collapse, and transport companies to lose millions. At first glance, it looked like a simple logistical problem. But as experts dug deeper, they realized something much bigger was happening. This was not just traffic. It was a deliberate move driven by political, economic, and strategic motives from countries that were no longer willing to let Russia and China dominate the region. Why were these trucks blocking the route? The answer lies in the rising independence and strategic ambitions of Central Asian countries like Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. For decades, these nations were seen as junior partners of Russia. But now they are asserting themselves and refusing to be used as mere transit zones. They introduced new transport fees, tightened customs checks, and increased regulations, making it extremely difficult for Chinese goods to move smoothly. At the same time, European countries, especially those in the EU, began questioning the true purpose of this Chinese project. Was it simply for trade, or was China building a permanent economic corridor that could bypass Europe's influence? As tensions rose, bureaucratic barriers were added everywhere. Borders slowed down intentionally. Inspections tripled. This created the perfect storm. The result? A wall of 8,000 trucks blocking the most important supply route between China and Europe, directly through Russia's territory. The nightmare for Putin goes even deeper. Russia had invested heavily in preparing for this project. They built new rail segments, expanded roads, and set up logistics hubs. China promised to send more goods, and Russia expected a surge in revenue. But now, with the route blocked, these investments are sitting unused. Worse, transport companies and international investors are losing trust in Russia as a reliable partner. Many are already exploring an alternative route that bypasses Russia entirely: the Trans-Caspian International Transport Route, also known as the Middle Corridor. This route connects China to Europe via Kazakhstan, the Caspian Sea, Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Turkey. And here's the shocking part. This route is backed by the European Union and the United States. That means Russia is being cut out while its rivals step in. China now faces a major decision. Does it continue to work with Russia and endure the delays? Or does it quietly shift toward the middle corridor, even though it reduces Russia's importance in global trade? Signs already show that China is increasing investment in countries like Kazakhstan and Turkey. And if that continues, Russia could lose billions in transit revenue, future infrastructure projects, and most importantly, its strategic leverage over China. The entire point of the Russia-China alliance was to create a powerful Eurasian bloc. But this trucking crisis is forcing China to rethink whether relying on Russia is worth the risk. For Putin, this is humiliating. Imagine pushing a massive project, promoting it on national TV, assuring the Russian people that it will boost the economy, and then watching it collapse because 8,000 trucks are stuck at a border. Russian media tried to downplay the situation, but the truth couldn't be hidden. Russian companies began complaining. Transport unions demanded answers. Business owners warned of massive losses. Even local officials admitted they had no control over the borders in neighboring countries. This exposed one of Russia's biggest weaknesses. Despite trying to act like a regional superpower, it cannot force Central Asian nations to follow its plans anymore. These countries are now balancing relationships between China, Turkey, the EU, and the US. This means Russia is no longer the center of influence. It's becoming just one of many options. The geopolitical consequences are enormous. First, Russia's dream of becoming the main land route between China and Europe is collapsing. Second, China is now questioning whether Russia is a reliable long-term strategic partner. Third, the West is celebrating silently because this disruption weakens both Russia and China without firing a single shot. But perhaps the most important shift is happening in Central Asia itself. These countries are now emerging as independent power players. They are controlling access, setting the rules, and shaping the future of Eurasian trade. This is a direct challenge to both Putin and Xi Jinping. In short, the old world order in this region is being rewritten, and Russia is losing its place at the center. Putin is desperate to fix the situation. He has sent delegations, offered lower transit fees, and even promised joint investments to ease the pressure. But the trust is already damaged. Central Asian nations want control. China wants reliability. Europe wants alternatives, and Russia is stuck in the middle, racing against time to keep its relevance. Even worse, this crisis is happening while Russia is heavily engaged in war, facing sanctions, and dealing with internal economic problems. This $50 billion project was supposed to be a lifeline, but now it looks like another major failure added to a growing list. So what happens next? Will Russia forcefully take control of the routes? That could spark conflict. Will China drop Russia and focus on the middle corridor? That would reshape global trade forever. Or will Putin manage to negotiate a compromise that saves the project at the last minute? One thing is clear. The era where Russia controlled regional trade without question is over. The world is changing, and power is shifting in unpredictable ways. In the end, this situation is more than just about trucks and borders. It is about the future of global trade, the strength of alliances, and the rise and fall of geopolitical influence. 8,000 trucks have done what sanctions and diplomacy couldn't. They have exposed the vulnerability of Putin's grand strategy. And if Russia cannot fix this crisis soon, the consequences will echo for decades. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned as we continue to follow this developing story and reveal how this geopolitical chess game unfolds on the world stage.